Deputy Superintendent of Police M.K. Ganapathy was found hanging from a ceiling fan at a lodge in Kodagu district, about 250 kilometers from Bengaluru.
Mr. Siddaramaiah has called for an emergency meeting. Of course, there were speculations whether KJ George will resign or not, but now it is clear, coming in from Siddaramaiah's cabinet, asking his ministers to stand by KJ George.
Investigations by Siddaramaiah State Police cleared the minister's name, but the cop's family went to court, demanding an unbiased probe for justice. The Central Probe Agency has named one of the powerful ministers of the state as key accused. Yet, he has refused to give up his kursi.
Now the CBI got 3 months' time. Let them investigate. Let them give a report. Then I can comment on the CBI investigation.
More than the minister, his chief minister is being brazen about the allegations.
Since it is a old FIR, already registered in the police station, and there is no necessity or it warrants Mr. George to resign in this case.
And as politics over M.K. Ganapathy's death continues, Mirror now asks, why should the Congress come out in such overwhelming support of the tainted leader? Shouldn't KJ George take moral responsibility as CBI continues to probe the case and step down for a fair probe? Mirror Now report.
Well, here's the question we're asking this evening on the Urban Debate on Mirror Now. As the CBI registers an FIR naming KJ George, Minister in Karnataka, as prime accused in the case of the suicide of Deputy Superintendent of Police M.K. Ganapathy, the government backs KJ George. KJ George refuses to resign. The opposition is demanding a resignation. In cases like this, when a very, very powerful minister is under investigation, does it make sense for them to continue in office with the ability to influence the investigation? Or does it make sense for them to step out of office until the investigation is complete? That's the question we're asking this evening, specifically with this particular case where the CBI has named KJ George as the first or the prime accused. Joining me on the show this evening, Brijesh Kalapath is the advocate. He's an advocate for the Supreme Court of India, is also the spokesperson of the Congress party. Yatindra Chaudhary is an advocate also and the counsel of the aggrieved family of M.K. Ganapathy in the Supreme Court. Asir Vatam Acharya is a BJP leader. M.N. Vijay Kumar, retired IAS officer. Kumar Ketkar, senior journalist. We're glad to have him on the show. Kodanda Ramaya is a retired IPS officer, ex-commissioner of police, Bangalore City, and former Minister of Parliament. And Ramakant Gaur is a lawyer with the Supreme Court. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Mr. Kumar Ketkar, I'm going to come to you first. Mr. Ketkar, this is not the first minister who's facing accusations, but it's a CBI FIR. While the opposition is demanding a resignation, do you believe that at this point, KJ George should step out of office?
Well, actually, to clear the matter, it would be morally justified, not necessarily legally, if he resigns and says that let the inquiry continue. And if he is innocent, which may be, in that case it will be clear. But by keeping on to the post and by, sort of defending the position of a minister, I think can unnecessarily implicate him morally, if not legally. I personally feel when such serious allegation is made, actually the minister or the officer, whoever is concerned, should resign. But there is another point involved in this. CBI has not named him. And CBI has not named not only him, but CBI has also not named Chief Minister of Negligence. Therefore, and neither Mr. Ganapathy has written any note. The family does not have any concrete evidence against the minister, and therefore it remains a typical Sherlock Holmes kind of a case in which we are investigating something based merely on suspicion and allegations. I think it is necessary for the minister to clear the matter, to clear the air, but let us not forget, on either side, there is no completely accurate or defensible evidence.
But Mr. Ketkar, while you say that M.K. Ganapathy did not leave a note, he did leave a video that was just sent to the press, in which he very clearly names the three accused, the first of which is the Minister KJ George.
No, what I'm saying is, in that note, there is no clear-cut indication that he was under pressure from the Minister, Mr. George. In fact, that's what I'm saying. Because there is an implication, because there is an inferential evidence, it is good and morally justified that he resigns and does not continue in the ministry. But as I said, the CBI has not named him. And moreover, personally speaking, I have not much of a faith in CBI, particularly after the Arushi case, in which CBI was found to be bungling so much, and so many other cases in Maharashtra as well as Mumbai. CBI has not come out with any flying colors. So let us not, name CBI in defense of anything. Let us think in terms of moral and legal issues. On moral terms, it would be better if the minister resigns and let the inquiry continue.
Supreme Court, where do you stand? Ramakant Gaur?
I couldn't hear your question.
Right. Ramakant Gaur, the question that we are asking today is, should KJ George resign until this investigation is complete?
In this case, a Home Minister and two senior IPS officials are being made accused. I disagree with Mr. Ketkar when he says there is no evidence and CBI has not named. It is a matter of record that the Supreme Court of India has looked into the evidence, has looked into the prima facie evidence, and then directed CBI to investigate the matter. So, had there been no evidence, Supreme Court would have said no. Supreme Court has specifically observed, though we are not commenting on the merits of the matter, but at the same time, this matter should be investigated by somebody of the appropriate level. So, had there been no evidence, Supreme Court would not have entertained. There are evidence. Now, why should the Home Minister resign? Is because of the simple reason that he has influenced the investigation of the state police. State police did not come out with any inference, positive or negative. So, if the investigation was supervised and the investigation was botched up by the minister and his officials, then he must resign for the sake of independent investigation.
Rajesh Kalapa joins us right now. So does Yatinder Chaudhary. Yatinder Chaudhary is the advocate who represents the family of MK Ganapathy in the Supreme Court. Mr. Chaudhary, thank you for joining us. I want you to respond to what Kumar Ketkar said. He said there is no specific evidence in this case. But you did argue this case in Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, in its wisdom, decided it ought to be investigated by the CBI.
No, I completely disagree. I completely disagree. This investigation was completely botched up by the state. That is why the Supreme Court felt that there is need that an independent agency, CBI, does the investigation afresh. I mean, this is a very crucial part of the order where Supreme Court saying the CBI can also do investigation afresh, not just where they have left. There are ample evidence where I can even see in the B report filed by the state saying, showing that the complete investigation was botched up, crucial evidences were left, fingerprints were not taken, so many things, the pen drives, the crucial, the evidences were left. There were stories that bullets were fired in the room where the dead body was found, was not even taken care of in the B report. I mean, what else you need? What else you need for the investigation to be a bad investigation? So I completely disagree with the speaker that this is not a fair investigation was done. If you look at the investigation of the state, the investigation was done to save the three persons. And these are not ordinary persons. One was the minister, who was the home minister. Two were the senior police officers.
Right, and Yatinder Chaudhary, does the family also demand right now that KJ George resign when this investigation is being conducted?
Yes. Absolutely, they resign. And it's if you are in a public life, it's a moral responsibility that you should resign if such a serious charge is on you. And there's a moral responsibility of the Chief Minister also, that he removes the minister immediately if such a serious thing is there on a minister.
Let me bring in Brijesh Kalapa, who's been listening very patiently. Mr. Kalapa, thank you for joining us. Both in your legal opinion and your opinion as spokesperson of the Congress party, why is KJ George not resigning?
See, Faye, the first thing is, the first principle of criminal law is the principle of double jeopardy. That for the very same crime, you can't be punished twice. Now, let's assume that Mr. George is now asked to resign. How fair is it? Because when the matter was, when the FIR was first lodged and his name was mentioned, at that time he resigned. Now, certain people felt that, look, we are not very satisfied with the stage of investigation or the manner of investigation. They have moved the Supreme Court. Supreme Court in complete deviation of what it's been holding so far, because the law on the case is really the state of West Bengal case. And the Supreme Court has not even considered that case, and it gave a short order. It's really not a judgment, it's an order. And they said that, look, they have not made a comment in regard to the CID findings.
No,
they have merely said that we refer the matter to the CBI.
Supreme Court does,
Supreme Court
has considered the West Bengal case.
Sorry, not very satisfied with the judgment.
One at a time.
With the CID inquiry, and therefore the matter has been sent to the CBI. The issue is this, that the Supreme Court never made a comment in regard to the findings. It never said that, look, we are not satisfied with this. It never said that we are not satisfied with this. It just referred the matter to the CBI. Now, this being the case, matter goes to the CBI. CBI, Mr. George, or the other two persons clearly have no way of influencing the investigation. Now, why should he resign? He should resign because he has a manner of influencing the investigation. There is no such, it's not possible, because the central government is run by the BJP, and we are a state government which is run by the Congress. So there is not even the likelihood that he could ever influence the course of the investigation. When this is the case, then why should Mr. George resign after he has already resigned once? Let's assume that after this CBI gives him a clean sheet, just like they gave him a clean sheet in the CBI, in the DK Ravi case. Well, if the certain people again move some other investigation agency, let's say the NIA, is he to resign once again? I find this totally absurd. Why should he resign once again?
Yatinder Chaudhary.
He keeps resigning on every occasion when there is an investigation. Prima facie, when there has been found nothing. The CID has given a report. In the CID report, there is nothing at all found.
He's saying that Supreme Court has not found anything. And I mean, how strange is this? If Supreme Court has not found anything, why would they order for a CBI investigation?
Give me one line from the Supreme Court order which says that the CID has not done a good job. Give me one line from the Supreme Court order.
Brijesh Kalapa, if the Supreme Court, in its wisdom, decided that the CBI should take up the case, they must have had reason.
Read one line from the Supreme Court order which says that this is not correct.
Ramakant Gaur,
all the words you use.
Now,
does the Supreme Court use one line?
No, absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong.
One second, let me bring in Ramakant Gaur. Ramakant Gaur, if the Supreme Court in its wisdom decided the CBI ought to investigate this case, the Supreme Court must have had its reasons.
Whatever you,
Supreme Court has...
watching up and all this, please read one line.
Right, Ramakant Gaur.
Gentlemen, Supreme Court has dealt this issue exhaustively.
If it's a figment of your imagination...
It is not a short order. Kindly bear with me. It is not...
said something, please respond to it.
Right, Ramakant Gaur.
It is not such a short order. It is running in 4 pages. And in these 4 pages, Supreme Court has specifically said, having considered everything
on pages, whatever words you used about
let him answer. Brijesh Kalapa, let him answer.
Where is it available?
Let him answer.
If it's not available, then admit on public television that what you're doing is a mockery.
All right.
And you're a BJP spokesperson.
No. Ramakant Gaur is not a BJP spokesperson. I promise you that. He's an independent panelist.
There's no question of BJP and Congress here.
One second. Ramakant Gaur, answer the question. One second. Ramakant Gaur
have some respect for Supreme Court.
Ramakant Gaur was prepared to answer the question with the Supreme Court order. Go ahead, Ramakant Gaur.
See, in last paragraph, Supreme Court has specifically observed, having considered the entirety of the material before this court, but without expressing any opinion on merits, we direct the investigation be handed over to the CBI. The CBI may complete the investigation as far as possible within 3 months from the date of receipt of copy of order. Investigation may be supervised by an officer of an appropriate rank having regard to the nature of present case. Then you are saying the Supreme Court has not looked into the matter. Please be serious about what you are talking about, the apex court. Please have the courtesy. Please have courtesy to respect the apex court.
Where is the botching up by the CID?
Okay. Let me
please, sir,
answer you on that. Let me answer you that in your tenor.
Okay, gentlemen, one at a time, please. One at a time. Ramakant Gaur, answer the question.
You respect the Supreme Court in your own way. I respect the Supreme Court in my own way.
Brijesh Galapa, let him answer the question.
Pass judgment in regard to how I respect the Supreme Court and you respect it even more.
Gentlemen, please. Ramakant Gaur, answer the question, please.
The police, it is an admitted case that the case was registered with the local police. Now, local police falls under whom? The Home Minister and the Chief Minister. The local police did not collect the evidence in the forensic manner or in the scientific manner, which has been held by Supreme Court since 2012. So there are directions to various Home Secretaries and the states that the investigation should be done with the help of forensic and the scientific method. In this particular case, it is not being done. 2. The CBI team has to, what is specifically recorded in this order is that the CBI may conduct the investigation afresh or from where the local police left the investigation. So CBI has to collect the evidence from the local police. Now, what is to be delivered to the local police or what is not to be delivered? We have seen that local police has botched up the investigation in various cases. As Mr. Ketkar has rightly said, that what UP police did in Talwar's case did not conduct the investigation properly, and CBI had to deal with the evidence, what was handed over to them. And then what we saw the fate of that case. So it is...
Well, actually, Ramakant Gaur, what Mr. Kumar Ketkar said was the CBI made a mess of the Arushi Talwar case, and that's why he doesn't have too much faith in the CBI right now. But Mr. Asirvatham Acharya of the BJP also standing by to make a point. Mr. Acharya, go ahead.
Yeah. See, here I see on two angles. One is on political angle, second one is on administrative angle. Let me go first into the administrative angle. The Chief Minister Siddaramaiah, he asked Mr. George to resign. He resigned and he did not even wait for some more time. The moment a clean sheet was given by the own government, he was again sworn in and he became a minister once again. I see how a minister who is the part and parcel of the cabinet of the government of Karnataka will allow any officer, even any police officer of maybe any organization, either it is CBI also, they are all IPS officers, maybe from different cadres, and they will be not allowed to work. There will be a lot of pressure because he was a home minister. So please try to understand, because I have handled myself the 2G case, and when the case went to the CBI, the first thing was the minister consent was asked to quit. So here administratively I see this minister, Mr. George, will be going to all extent of sabotaging any sort of investigation from any side. Coming to the political side, I see the speed with which Siddaramaiah sworn in again Mr. George. There is something Siddaramaiah has to answer rather than George to answer. The George was the home minister. Was there any culpability on the side of Siddaramaiah when he is a chief minister, and George is having some information, a credible information, which may damage Siddaramaiah in his position. So here two-pronged approach has to be there. Siddaramaiah has to remove him rather than begging or asking him to resign.
I have a quick question for Mr. Acharya. The argument that was put forward was that the CBI is a national agency and cannot be influenced by state ministers. What is your response to that?
See, everybody asks for CBI inquiry because CBI is so far has maintained that credibility, because CBI is one organization which has loyalty only to the Constitution of India, and it cannot be influenced by anybody. That is why we asked for CBI inquiry in 2G case, and they have done wonderful job, and next week we are waiting for the judgment. Having said that, CBI is also having IPS officers drawn from several cadres. So, being a minister, George himself will try his level best, because he is going to face a biggest problem in his career. Not only in his career, in his life. If suppose he is convicted, he has to be in the jail, or he will be convicted to the maximum life imprisonment. So in that case, he as a rat trapped in a mouse trap, he will be able to try to escape in some way or the other. So that is why we are asking for his immediate sacking by the Chief Minister of Karnataka.
Right, I want to bring in Mr. Kodanda Ramaya, is the retired IPS officer, ex-Commissioner of Police, Bangalore City. Mr. Kodanda, thank you so much for joining us. My question to you is, how much pressure, in your opinion, do the police face from ministers currently in office? Do you believe that ministers should step out of office in order to allow investigations to be completed without influence?
First of all, the pressures exercised by the ministers over the administration is known to everybody, not in Karnataka alone, but all over the country and even in central government. That's one part of it. Now, here is a case where a serving DSP has committed suicide in Kodagu. Naturally, the opposition raises a hue and cry, and the government also responded in the past. I personally feel there was no need for Mr. George to have resigned then itself. Now, here is a case of suicide. That is admitted. What are the reasons for the suicide are being investigated. Now the CID has taken out the investigation, and they have done it and gave a final report in the matter. Now for some reason the Supreme Court in its wisdom said that it must be investigated by the CBI. Fair enough. Now I don't want to level any allegations or back up any organization like CBI. You have seen only in Arushi's case what are the strictures passed against CBI on one side. But that is a different issue. But in this case, CBI has taken over the investigation. The demand now is that George should resign. I really do not see any reason why he should resign. Already some investigation has been done by the local CID, and CID did not find any substance in the allegations in their investigation. Now let us see what CBI is going to do. But simply because an FIR is issued against a minister, he need not have to resign. Okay, let the investigation go on. If they think there is an arrest to be made, let them arrest. Okay. I personally feel nothing of this is going to be proved in investigation even by CBI. You have already seen the case of Ravi, an IAS officer who committed suicide for different reasons. Then there was heavy pressure on the government, and government considered the demand of the opposition to hand it over to CBI. They did hand it over to CBI. CBI finally did the same thing as the local police and the CID did. They did not find any substance in the allegations in the suicide case of Ravi, IAS officer. Now this is another case where a lot of hangama and halagola is being created, but it is totally political. It is not at all legal, it is not at all factual.
Can I come in, please?
Presuming for a moment that yes. He is shown as an accused, right. FIR did not mean that he is found guilty of the offence. Should he have to resign? I don't think he has to resign.
Right, I have one more voice. Okay, so you don't believe he has to resign right now. I have one more voice. Mr. M.N. Vijay Kumar, retired IAS officer. Mr. Vijay Kumar, where do you stand on the matter of ministers under investigation at this point still holding office?
See, actually these people are so powerful, whether they are occupying any post or not. If they want to tamper, they will tamper, and most probably they would have already tampered. So it's not the question of whether somebody should resign or not. What is needed is good officers, investigating officers should be asked to take up the investigation, and only that actually can lead to a fair investigation. But I don't think what we are talking now, whether he continues in his present posting or office, whether he can tamper or interfere, I don't think that is I mean, from my own experience while in service, I know that these people are capable of anything, with or without any position.
Mr. Acharya of the BJP, go ahead. And I'm opening up the panel now for everyone to come in and make, to respond. Yeah. Mr. Acharya, you first.
Yeah, fine. See, here the one thing which I would like to reiterate once again is whether a minister has to resign or not. Here the minister being in power has access to each and every movement happening in his state. And again his own, the machinery, government machinery will be at his beck and call. He can find out what is going on in the investigation either himself or through his government machinery. And here the chief minister doesn't have any control. We are really surprised to know the chief minister protecting a minister to that extent. So that is where we are doubting whether Siddaramaiah himself is involved in any activity through which this gentleman George is blackmailing him. Because no chief minister would like to keep a minister who has been going to be investigated by the CBI. The first thing any chief minister would have asked him done is he would have asked that minister, please Baba, go away, because my ministry, my government is the prestige of my government, the name and fame of my government is at stake. So Baba, you go away and I can manage without you. Here something is fishy between the chief minister and the minister concerned. So the people of Karnataka, the people of India have all the rights to find out what is going on between them.
Rajesh Kalapa, go ahead.
Yeah, Faye, I've been hearing Mr. Acharya make, complete, I would not like to use any unparliamentary word of himself on public television. You see, on the one hand, he says that the minister concerned should resign and ultimately the CBI is working under the central government. Does he not realize how pathetic he is making the CBI look if he says that a state minister of a different political dispensation
CBI is an independent
can actually
agency.
influence the course of investigation
Mr. Kallappa, let
of the
me
CBI?
be very clear.
Is he not making the CBI look like putty before somebody's eyes?
It does
please,
not
at least
work
have some
under
respect for the CBI as an institution.
For administrative
I know you are
please, not at the same time.
But
to get a clean chit for Amit Shah, to get a clean chit for Janardhan Reddy, to get a clean chit for Yediyurappa, to get a clean chit for Asimanand. You've used the CBI for every virtual thing. But what is the point of making the CBI look like putty before our hands
not at all.
in front of everybody to say that Mr. George has to resign because he is likely to influence the CBI? Don't you have confidence in your own agency that a person in power
Gentlemen, if you speak at the same time, the audience does not understand you.
Days of caged parrots are no more there.
Does it not make the CBI look so bad? Mr. Yashirvardhan Acharya, please think of the CBI's stature. Please, you might see, of course, you want to earn a brownie point. I would only like to remind you, Mr. Acharya, how many ministers.
Rajesh Kalapa, what is your submission that the CBI is being influenced? One second. Gentlemen, calm down.
Have you taken any action against them? Nihal Chand,
try to understand.
in your cabinet. Did you ever think of taking any action against him?
Okay.
How many of your MPs are involved in criminal activities? Have you taken any action against them? After all this, you come and speak about one Mr. George who has already got a clean chit from the CID. The very same officers in the CID operated the CBI.
They are transferred. Who are you to give a clean chit? Your chief minister cannot give a clean chit.
Powers to investigate. What happened in CBI in the decade?
Okay. The gentlemen of the BJP and the Congress. One second. Calm down. You are both speaking at the same time.
Wherever there is a death, the BJP will reach just like vultures reach
Rajesh Kalapa, is your submission...
They want to reap political capital out of a dead body.
One second. Is your submission that the CBI is an independent body and... One second. Rajesh Kalapa, is your point here that the CBI is an independent body and cannot be influenced, or are you saying the CBI is being influenced by the central government?
See, he is the BJP spokesperson, and today the BJP controls the CBI. And they've been saying that it's a caged parrot, it's a caged parrot when during our regime. Now let's assume it's a freed parrot. Now since it's a freed parrot and it's flying, can Mr. George influence the CBI? Is he not making the CBI look bad? If Mr. George, who's a state minister, can influence the CBI at the center?
But I think this is terribly unfortunate, because then in this case, Kumar Ketkar, we have the opposition here saying the CID is working on the behest of the state government, and we have the Congress saying that the CBI is working at the behest of the central government. So technically we have no police force that is upright and moral left in the country. Kumar Ketkar.
Well, let us keep Congress and BJP out, and even the governments out. Let us first admit that no intelligence agency or no police office, whether in the state or in the center, is completely independent to investigate anything, not just Arushi case. But Asim Anand, Colonel Purohit, Pradnya Singh Thakur, we have been seeing continuously how police cases are influenced, how court cases are influenced, how sometimes even courts themselves are influenced or tried to be influenced by the ruling governments. So let us not put too much trust in CBI, just as let us not put too much trust in CID. The point here is, Supreme Court has not stated in clear words that the local CID has botched up the case. It is an allegation, it is an inference that the case has been botched up by the local CID. Now in CBI case itself, the CBI investigation itself, it does not mention the Home Minister and former Home Minister or the current Home Minister, Mr. George. And now therefore to ask for resignation can be justified only morally, not legally. I think I made it very clear in the initial statement itself that morally one can demand resignation of anybody. But legally, technically, there is no specific evidence to implicate Mr. George or to even allege Mr. George of any wrongdoing. Therefore, I think since I do not trust any intelligence agency, as a journalist I have seen how intelligence agencies are influenced by the local governments and the local politicians, whether in power or not in power. So let us not put too much trust in CBI or even NIA, because we have been seeing in the last 3 years how NIA has been misusing its power and releasing Pradnya Singh Thakur, Asim Anand, Colonel Purohit, and even in Gujarat, so many cases have been, judges have been transferred because they gave judgments which are not compatible with the ruling governments. So let us not put too much trust in the so-called institutions' independence. Let us look at it morally and politically. Politically, they are discussing, I am not involved in politics. So morally, one can say that since you are charged, you can say, I am resigning.
Well, Mr. Achari, then are you demanding this resignation on moral grounds?
First, let me reply to Mr. Kumar Ketkar. Mr. Kumar Ketkar was referring to cases of NIA, the way it was handling, especially Swami Asimanand, Sadhvi Pragya Thakur and Colonel Purohit. See, these cases were slapped during the UPA government, the Congress government, which coined a new word called the saffron terror, which the then Home Minister took the responsibility of coinage of that word. And now the NIA has found that there is no iota of any evidence against these persons, and that is why they are on bail. And the courts have given the bail, and there is no. Once again, I am telling you, no influence from the central government on the NIA. The NIA is functioning independently, the same way the Central Bureau of Investigation functions independently.
Salayan said, sir?
Have gone.
Can you explain to the public what Rohini Salayan said regarding the NIA? That officers of the NIA were very keen on influencing the course of investigation and they had spoken to her. Have you read what Rohini Salayan has said about the NIA, sir?
Mr. Kallappa, let me tell you, then the courts, why did they give bail to them? You ask this, but they put this question to the court. The NIA court gave the bail, and the court found that there is no iota of
Rohini
truth.
Salayan was changed and you got your own public prosecutor.
So
that's why the court gave bail.
Someone taking...
Is it not clear? Because Rohini Salayan was shunted out, sir, and you got your own people as public prosecutor,
that means
and that's the reason the court
that
gave
the
bail.
government of Karnataka
is that not obvious to everybody concerned?
Bail out because there... Mr. Kallappa...
You know, the unfortunate
no,
part
Kalapa,
about so basically
the government of Karnataka is hand in glove with these accused persons.
So, and I'm going to take this question back to Yatindra Chaudhary. Yatindra Chaudhary, from this argument between state and central government, it seems like there is no hope for someone who is not politically connected. Yatindra Chaudhary.
Sorry, can you repeat your question, please?
Yes, I'll repeat my question. If we listen to the argument right now between state and central government about how many agencies each of them control and how there is no justice available right now for the ordinary citizen, so regular normal families who are not politically connected, it almost seems like there's no justice for us.
Listen, this family of this DySp was absolutely at that same position which you are talking about. Their writ petition saying that CBI should do the investigation before the single bench was dismissed by the Karnataka High Court. They went in appeal in the division bench, that was also dismissed. Then they went to Supreme Court, where it took around a year or so to get this order. And this is not influenced by anyone, please, I must tell here. No Congress, no BJP was involved with us. We did it very independently, we did very honestly. We had put all the evidences before Honorable Supreme Court. Only after considering each and every element, they had ordered this. So it's absolutely incorrect to say there were any bias or some pressure. And for now, I mean, to say that very conveniently the minister can hold the position. I mean, legally there's no restriction on him, but if you are in public life, morality is also a question that also needs to be considered, and if you don't consider it, of course the people of Karnataka will give you an answer.
Ramakant Gaur?
There is no morality in polity, it is evinced now. Whether it is BJP or it is Congress, they are trying to accuse each other. But it is also a matter of fact.
It does not.
It is also a matter of fact.
It will not remain in the future.
It is also a matter of fact that whatever is produced before the court will look into that evidence only. And it vests with the investigating agency what kind of evidence, what kind of pleading it is placing before the courts. So the court granted bail to one person. That does not mean the court absolved that person from all the criminal charges. Bail and conviction are two distinct things. My learned friend has to learn about it. Secondly, I am completely in agreement with Mr. Ketkar when he says no agency is independent. Yes, in the Congress regime, the Supreme Court itself labeled CBI as caged parrot. The situation is no more different. As a citizen of this country, I am always apprehensive about the quality of investigation. But it is also not good for me to say that the CBI is bereft of honest officers. There are a number of honest officers who do their duty diligently and place the result. But in political cases, the result is biased in any which ways. We have seen that in so many cases, and it is happening all over.
Right. Let me just bring in now Surendra MG of the Karnataka Congress, who joins us in this conversation. Mr. Surendra, can you hear me? Brijesh Kalapa had to leave the conversation. He was with us up until now. Surendra, I want to understand from you if the ministers of the Congress government in Karnataka, including the Chief Minister, believe that Mr. KJ George had absolutely nothing to do with this suicide, then why do you think Deputy Superintendent M.K. Ganapathy committed suicide? What was the cause of his death?
See, there is no agency has till date produced a conclusive evidence that what is for the reason of his suicide. And nobody has also pinpointed anybody, either Mr. George or anybody, as directly responsible for the murder. It is in the investigation stage. It is a suicide, sorry. For the suicide. So it is the investigation stage. So let us, why he committed suicide, what is the actual reason? That is for the investigation agencies to decide. But in this particular case, what I want to specifically highlight is the CBI is increasingly demeaning itself by naming KJ George again in the same case? See, firstly,
no,
this
did you
is a
say the
pattern
CBI
going
is
on in
demeaning
this government.
itself?
CBI has not named anyone.
No, hang on. Mr. Surendra, did you say the CBI is demeaning itself? So does the government of Karnataka believe that the CBI is demeaning itself?
No, in the sense, it is losing its own credibility.
The CBI is following instructions of the Supreme Court in filing an FIR. How is it losing its credibility?
No, but then filing an FIR and naming a person in the FIR are two different things.
May I just interrupt for a moment? Just a minute.
Yatindra Chaudhary is the advocate for MK Ganapathy's family. Yatindra Chaudhary, go ahead.
The day the Deputy SP died.
Yes.
May I just interrupt? The day the Deputy SP died, hours before that, he gave a TV interview naming 3 persons that if something happens to me, these 3 persons will be responsible. I mean, what else you need?
Yes.
But then they have not found any concluding evidence.
This is a dying declaration.
Right, absolutely. That is for everybody, every one of us to see.
Sir,
but then is there any concluding
Your
evidence
government
that
has not
leads to
found.
this
That is dying declaration.
Supreme Court has found something
That is the
fishy.
form of
Nobody has found it.
What else?
Nobody has found it. See,
So
the Supreme Court,
So then,
the point
why
is
did the
They are
Supreme
not
Court
found.
ask
Why
for an
would
investigation,
Why
Mr.
would they
Surendra?
order for CBI investigation if they have not found something? It's very strange.
It is a discretion of the Supreme Court in its wisdom
Yes,
has allowed the...
Mr. Kodanda Ramaya, go ahead. Mr. Kodanda Ramaya, former Commissioner of Police, Bangalore. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. Now the point is, he got himself interviewed over a TV. It is not somebody interviewed him. He recorded it on the TV and it went viral. The point is, he named 3 persons as responsible
But it's still
for his
doesn't it
suicide.
still qualify as a dying declaration, Mr. Kodanda Ramaya?
Excuse me. See, dying declaration, evidentiary value as a dying declaration is possible in any case. But that does not mean whatever is said by the deceased is 100% true. That dying declaration has to be substantiated by relevant corroborative evidence. Now the CID has not found any corroborative evidence for the dying declaration of the DSP.
But you must realize, Mr. Kodanda Ramaya, you started on this show saying that it is common knowledge that politicians influence investigations, and this CID was investigating its own home minister and members of its own police force.
Say, I spent...
Yes.
Excuse me, I have spent 33 years in IPS before I went to Parliament also.
Can I come in, please?
No, let me finish.
No, go ahead, Mr. Kodanda Ramaya, please go ahead.
You can comment later. Now, so the point is, now the CBI has taken over the investigation. The demand is that he should resign. I recall a case of Lalu Prasad Yadav when he was Chief Minister in that scam. That matter has been brought before me as MP, and I said there was no need for Lalu Prasad Yadav to resign because an FIR is issued. I said, if a charge sheet is filed, yes, you have got every right to morally hold him responsible and demand his resignation. And it happened like that only. Here, an FIR has been issued. Let's wait. CBI, let me not comment about CBI. All police forces are alike. Don't you know how the CBI has been misused during emergency? Don't you know how the process of selection of CBI director recently has taken place? Now, let us not talk about morality in politics. Most of the politicians, you know what they are. And influencing the agencies, whether police or anything, is happening today. It happens in CID, Karnataka also, I don't deny that. But don't say CBI is
this
above
sort
it.
of statement,
that
morality does not have any place in the society will keep the youth of this country away from the politics forever.
No, see, gentlemen, let me just bring this back into perspective. A police officer killed himself. One second. Gentlemen. Mr. Kodanda Ramaya, I'm going to come back to you. Let me just put this back into perspective. A police officer of rank no less than Deputy SP killed himself. Where is the value for the life of a police officer? And a few hours before the suicide, he gave a television interview where he very clearly named 3 people, saying if something happens to me, these are the 3 people who are responsible because they are harassing me in different ways. Now, let's not devalue the life of this officer when his family has repeatedly said that evidence was tampered with. that they did not get a proper investigation, and they've approached the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has paid heed to their plea. And the CBI has now been asked to investigate. Now, either we assume that the Supreme Court has asked for this investigation on no grounds, which I think is completely a baseless thing to say tonight. And if the Supreme Court found the need for an investigation, shouldn't, like Mr. Kumar Ketkar said, shouldn't the minister morally stand down until the investigation is complete? I want to bring in Mr. Vijay Kumar. Mr. Vijay Kumar, shouldn't the minister morally stand down?
No.
Yes.
No, it is not necessary for two reasons.
One second.
CID did not find any substance in the allegation. Number two, CBI, let it find some substance. Then you ask the CBI minister to resign.
Mr. Vijay Kumar, go ahead.
Minister to resign only when the CBI says, yes, there is evidence and he is culpable.
Please repeat, I didn't hear properly.
Till such time, you have to wait.
Okay. Mr. Vijay Kumar, Mr. Kodan.
Which investigated initially.
Yes, I understand your point. We should wait for the CBI investigation. Mr. Vijay Kumar, you said, one second, Mr. Vijay Kumar, you said at the beginning of the show that politicians will interfere with investigations. So, as he is still in office, as a minister, and the second most powerful minister after the chief minister in the state of Karnataka, do you believe that KJ George currently is in a position to tamper with evidence if he remains in office? Vijay Kumar.
It is not just the involvement of the minister, it is the involvement of two senior IPS officers in the case, and one of them had worked in the CBI itself. So it makes it more difficult for any team of CBI to properly conduct the investigation. It is under such circumstances, whatever has to be done to make the investigation fair has to be done, and if that demands that the minister should step down, he should step down.
On the phone line from Bangalore. Our phone lines are open and our viewers are calling us. Mr. Imtiaz Khan, go ahead.
Mr. Vijay Kumar, I just want to ask Mr. Vijay Kumar, on the one hand is telling that the CBI is credible. Now he himself is saying there is a chance that the probe may be marred because of his continuation in office. So that's a dual speak. Either he has to say CBI is credible or he has to say being in office.
Faye, if you can allow me to ask a question to Mr. Kodandaramaiah.
One second. Unfortunately, everybody is asking questions and nobody is giving us any answers. One second. Let me just ask a question of Mr. Surendra of the Congress Party. One second, Mr. Acharya, I'll come back to you. Mr. Surendra of the Congress Party, my question to you is this.
Somebody will have to ask the question, I think.
Yes. Mr. Surendra, my question to you is this. Do you believe right now, does the state government of Karnataka believe that the CBI is an independent body that can completely investigate without interference, in which case your minister should remain in office? Or do you believe that the CBI is actually being motivated by the central government?
See, going by the recent act of the CBI, it is definitely motivated by the central government. See, this is a pattern. There is a pattern ahead of elections. If you see, I have to give one very small example. Please allow me to do so. See, in RK Nagar Bypole in Chennai, the central agencies suddenly snooped upon the person, and the amount up to about 80-90 crores were reportedly confiscated. None of them were filed, no cases were filed till date, no FIR is filed. And suddenly ADMK becomes a part of the NDA and the case is lost.
So Mr. Surendra, do you not believe then if the CBI is manipulatable, that the state government ministers can also manipulate it? Mr. Acharya.
If the CBI is conducting a probe, and if the CBI is conducting a probe, and if the CBI is under the hands of the central government, how can a state minister influence?
Okay, all right. So now, okay, all right. Mr. Surendra, so then if the CID was conducting a probe and the CID comes under the state ministers, don't you believe that the state ministers could have influenced the CID by the same argument?
Let me. Faye, I would like to.
At that point of time, he has already claimed a moral high. At that point of time, he has stepped down once.
Then why he was reinstated?
Because they gave him a clean sheet. They conducted an investigation. They gave him a clean sheet.
Who gave the clean sheet? Your government gave the clean sheet.
The CID.
The agency which is under your administrative control gave the clean sheet.
See, it is an agency. Now you are yourself telling. Now you are yourself telling that CID can be under the influence of state government. Same thing applies to CBI also.
Let me complete it. No, see, let me put this way. Let me put this way. When these family members of the deceased person, they were asked to give statement, they have come to the Supreme Court and said that we were threatened by the police. And the old father, who is more than 75 years old, he was threatened. He is a cancer patient. He could not understand what is going on in his family. He was discharged from the hospital and came and saw all these things. And he was asked to give a statement. So now the state police, which has threatened, now the evidence has to be collected from the same state police. And how will they give the evidence against their own minister? If
let me bring in Kumar Ketkar, who's been listening very carefully. Kumar Ketkar,
then only the state police will give the evidence.
One second. Kumar Ketkar, we've talked. One second, gentlemen of the two political parties, you are trading accusations at this point, and this is an endless conversation. But Kumar Ketkar, on one hand, the state government says the CBI can be influenced, and the central government says the state government is influencing the CID. What a sorry state of affairs, Mr. Kumar Ketkar.
Well, I think
by both.
Well, I think it is at the outset it is necessary to recognize that there is a big difference between individual officers being totally honest and men of integrity or women of integrity, and on the other hand, the institution which can be compromised. Individual officers can be absolutely honest, integrated, and correct in their approach, and yet the institution can compromise with the ruling government. This has happened in multiple cases ever since any government was there in power, and Haren Pandya's case in Gujarat, which was Haren Pandya died, was killed when Narendra Modi himself was the chief minister. Nothing of that has come so far. So the question is not whether CBI is wrong or everybody has in this particular panel has said that one or other time CBI has compromised itself. So we are not questioning individual officers, individual bureaucrats. We are questioning the institutional behavior, and institutional behavior is definitely suspect on the one hand here. Now, the local CID, if it has botched up, the CBI has given a clean sheet. Supreme Court has not mentioned anybody. And therefore, the question does not become legal. The question does not become institutional. The question does not even become political. The only question remains is moral. And that is why I said, I do not believe that he should resign on political grounds or legal grounds or technical grounds or institutional grounds. But because there is so much hallagula, there is so much hangama, so to clear the air, okay, maybe it would be unfair for him to resign for the second time and getting punished for the second time for the same so-called non-existent crime. But even then, to clear the error, if he resigns, it will remove the political cloud around him, and I think that would be necessary.
Well, let me just bring in our viewer. Imtiaz Khan is still on the phone line. One second, sir, one second. Imtiaz Khan is still on the phone line from Bangalore.
I just want to interrupt one thing.
Yeah, I'll come back to you. I'll come back to you, Virender Chaudhary. Imtiaz, go ahead.
Yeah, hello, Faye.
Yes.
See, your smile says 1,000 words, you know. The way you smile when this political bickering is going on.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, it shows that you understand the game played by these two political parties. See, the justice system in India is the best, and I have the full trust in the justice system. Maybe our bureaucrats may be corrupt, maybe our politicians are corrupt, but our judiciary is the best. But the problem is that judiciary decides on the matter when the proof is presented by either by the CBI or the state police.
Yes.
And both cannot be trusted. The state police does not trust the CBI, the CBI does not trust the investigations done by the state police. Then what is to be done? Where the justice? Where is the justice?
Where is the justice? So, very well said, Imtiaz Khan. Where is the justice? And for ordinary citizens, if you are up against someone powerful, and you're very right, even if we trust in the courts can only examine the evidence that's placed before it by the police, whether that is the CBI or the CID or the state police. So where does that leave the ordinary citizens when it comes to justice? For example, MK Ganapathy's family, who have now, apart from having to deal with their loss, they have been fighting this for so long. Yatinder Chaudhary, who is the counsel for the family, go ahead. You wanted to say something.
Yes, I wanted to ask one question to everyone. I mean, everyone is talking about that it will be unfair for the minister to resign. has anyone considered about the family members of the deceased? What will happen to his children, to his wife, brothers, sisters? Will you ever consider that? The minister will stay there and the investigation will conveniently will go. I mean, some fairness has to be, has to be considered. What sort of investigation, what sort of intent the state government has shown? I'll give you two examples. The B report, which is a closure report, was so hurriedly filed that the forensic report was given 4 months after. The B report has not even considered the forensic report. And this is a classic case of how, how an investigation is not to be done. And they are talking about the intent. All the panelists are saying you cannot rely on CID. Others are saying you cannot rely on CBI. Then where we should go, the common man?
That's an excellent question, Mr. Surendra, of the state government. Where should the common man go?
Well, Gauri Lankesh murder is still under investigation in the same state.
Yes.
Gauri Lankesh murder has not been fully investigated, neither by the central agency nor by the state agency.
Absolutely.
And Gauri Lankesh also has a family. So it's not a question of family. Family has the right to be agonized about it. Family has the right to feel sorry for it.
Gentlemen, one at a time. Everybody is talking at the same time.
Cannot determine.
State government, sir.
One at a time. Mr. Kumar Ketkar is answering the question.
Central agency.
One second.
It is with the state agency.
1 second. Mr. Kumar Ketkar is answering the question. Mr. Kumar Ketkar.
No, I am merely saying that families will definitely be in agony. Families will be justified in their sentiments, but family agony cannot defend necessarily the action by the judiciary or action by the CBI. Gauri Lankesh, for instance, has been murdered. It is not a case of suicide. In Ganapathy's case, it is suicide. Gauri Lankesh has been murdered, and neither state or central agency has been able to find out exactly who committed the murder. And therefore, I think to trust the agencies completely is wrong. Individuals in the agencies can be trusted, but the agencies themselves are not above the mark.
Well, I want Mr. Surendra of the Karnataka government to answer that question. 1 second, Mr. Surendra, the Gauri Lankesh.
On the agencies, how will they work?
Mr. Surendra, Gauri Lankesh's investigation.
Like you said, the individual consists of the agency. The agency consists of individuals only. Now, if you don't want to consider CID, if you don't want to consider CBI,
you're not answering the question.
How long?
But individuals don't determine individuals do not determine the approach of the agency. Individuals do not determine the entire character of the agency. Agency is influenced by multiple factors, including by the central or state or whatever government or political powers or pressures that be. Individual officers do not necessarily represent the entire institution. Individual officers and bureaucrats operate within the frame of the institution, which is under pressure, which is under all kinds of pressures. Not only the police, even the media operates under pressure. I am not saying that media is completely free. Media also operates under multiple pressures.
It is not.
And we are seeing the examples of media working under pressure right now all over the country.
Mr. Surendra, you didn't answer the question of the Gauri Lankesh murder investigation that not only has only reached up to 3 sketches, the state government has actually reduced that force on the investigating SIT. So there's a special team that was set up with a certain number of police officers, and those police officers have now been reduced in number before the investigation is complete. Isn't that true, Mr. Surendra?
Now, have you seen the further report? How much of staff is now added to the SIT investigating Gauri Lankesh case? A few of them got back, they were sent back, I agree. But you know, a big contingent of officers has now been put into SIT to expedite the investigation. Whether the investigation is going on a right line or not, I cannot say. But staff is there. But in this matter, there are 2 things. Number 1 is the relatives of the deceased. Yeah, they suffer. We have got all sympathy for that. But I'm happy that they have shown the boldness of going to the Supreme Court and getting an order as they desired. That system is okay. As far as investigation is concerned, we don't doubt the CBI right now. Why should we doubt? In that case, everybody start doubting everybody else. Why do we go? Whatever be the past of the CBI, in this particular case, it has come up clean with clean. We presume it is correct. It is true and it is happy. No, let us allow the CBI to investigate. But that does not mean George has to resign. Absolutely no reason to demand his resignation twice for the same thing. And they have exhibited their moral courage in making him resign in the first instance. Suppose they decided not to. What could anybody do? He has resigned in the initial stages. Yes, he has resigned and he has come back after some time and the final report is submitted. Let's wait for CBI report. And CBI can hold him guilty and he will have to quit. And they may arrest him if there is evidence also. But this case, I know, I have seen how many suicide cases I have not seen in my 33 years of service. There is too much of suspicion and too much of facts added to the case. The press and is playing the business of a trial court, I suppose.
Ramakant Gaur, is the press playing the job of the business of a trial court? Ramakant Gaur.
Add to it.
Press and particularly alert press is doing the business. Rest of the business is being done by the court. We have seen that in Haryana when Ram Rahim issue came up. It was only press and the court which played a vital role.
Yeah,
in multiple cases, it is the press which is taking responsibility. The media is responsible enough. Even in last 1 hour, you have not seen even a simple allegation or accusation or conviction kind of thing against George.
Please don't blame us.
Please look into it. If you are saying you are generally blaming media, this is absurd. Please be responsible. You have been a responsible officer. Please don't generalize. Please do not generalize. Please do not say. Please do not accuse the entire media.
There were observations by the courts themselves.
Wait, Yatinder Chaudhary, one second. Yatinder Chaudhary, what is the expectation of the family right now, the family of Mr. M.K. Ganapathy?
It's a very important wing of the democracy. We do admit press is a very important
expectation of the family is to get justice.
It's very important.
If the deceased on the day he died, the Deputy SP the day he died, he is naming 3 persons. What the family is asking? Family is asking, please give us a fair investigation.
CPI will give them justice.
The investigation done by the state CID was not a fair investigation.
One at a time. Let him finish answering his
Supreme Court.
Mr. Surendra, let him finish answering.
You are going into evidential aspect of it.
Now he's saying he wants justice. I mean, I can't understand why the government of Karnataka is troubled so desperately when there is a family asking for justice. Why is it bothering you so much? If there is a citizen of your state who wants justice, why is it bothering you so much? Let him finish answering his question.
To give justice to its people.
I mean, I don't see any desperation from the government of Karnataka or everybody.
You keep interrupting him.
If the family feels that CPI or the courts can give them justice, yes, they are free to approach them and have opposition.
The government of Karnataka opposed us in Supreme Court.
Gentlemen, please.
May I just say?
BJP Congress, please stop talking over everybody else.
They were threatened.
Acharya, one second. Please let Mr. Chaudhary finish what he is saying.
May I just say one sentence only?
Yeah.
Yes.
What I am saying is, the way the state of Karnataka opposed us in Supreme Court shows their desperation that they want to hide something. There was a classic case. I mean the day when the Supreme Court ordered investigation of a hearing before, Supreme Court was ready to order for CBI investigation. The state made a request that the accused must be heard. I have never heard in my life that the state is arguing on behalf of the accused, that please implead the accused and hear them. If this is not desperation, what is desperation?
Yeah, because accused
you can't give justice to the
senior
of the state.
Also.
Mr. Acharya, go ahead.
No, legally, Mr. Chaudhary.
Yeah, see here, one thing Mr. Kodandaramaiah can throw light. The officer, Mr. Ganapathy, after his death, after the death of Mr. Ganapathy, the same police who were their colleagues, who were their subordinates, they went to the family members of Mr. Ganapathy and threatened. Is it the way you will behave with the family member of your own colleague? And I was also told that the state police were divided. They were afraid of the Home Minister. They were afraid of the DGP intelligence. They were afraid of the another senior police officer. So they were not even willing to attend to Mr. Ganapathy's family members. Is it the way you have to behave with your former colleague's family? So in that circumstances, when the CBI comes to collect the evidence, when they meet the witnesses, how will they give witness? How will they give statements? That is the biggest question. So when the minister is getting dropped, when the minister is no more in power, probably his own former colleagues will come and tell, yes, these are all the things happen, because they will be out of fear and psychosis.
Ramakant Gaur, is it common for a state government to argue for the accused?
No, it is not. Even in case if an accused is aggrieved for a litigation, he has to enter separately into the docket. He has to file impleadment application on his own behalf. It is not for the state. A state government coming up for the defense of an accused, it is alien to the proposition of law. And even otherwise, court do not generally entertain such impleadments. And that is the reason court actually threw them out and directed for the independent investigation. But here somebody's life is compromised and there is no remorse. Either in BJP or Congress, they are involved in politics. So, and they do not have courage to show the morality.
Right, I have one quick question which should put a lot of things in perspective. Yatindra Chaudhary, when MK Ganapathy gave the television interview, it was not a suicide note.
It's not an interview.
He said these three people are harassing several honest officers in the department. I do not know what is going to happen to me in the future. But if something happens to me, these are the three people who will be responsible.
Yes.
That man was found dead several hours later.
Yes.
So the fact that the family believes that something is amiss because it was not a suicide note, he did not say, I am going to commit suicide because of these people. He said something may happen to me. Yatindra Chaudhary, go ahead.
No, listen. No, listen there. No, I must tell you. The interview was hours before he was found dead, okay? We even argued this prospect in Supreme Court that this is a dying declaration. This can be considered a dying declaration. Okay?
Yes. Go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Yes. So this can be considered a dying declaration. To say that it was not a suicide note, there are, you can even check. In the media reports, it was there that there was a suicide note found. But we don't know where it is. Because the investigation was so botched up. The suicide note was nowhere in the picture. We don't know where it is. It is for the CBI to find out now. What was the real reason? What actually happened?
And did the family tell you that they were being threatened, Mr. Chaudhary?
Absolutely threatened. The father of the deceased, who was more than 72, 73, is a farmer. And huge pressure. Can you consider one thing? His son, dead body, was hanging. And he was made to sign something at that time. Such insensitivity from the state police, that some body is hanging and you are asking that poor fellow to say something and agree to something.
These are all revelations in the TV interview.
Well, I'm going to give the last word to Kumar Ketkar, senior journalist. Kumar Ketkar.
Before the Supreme Court.
Kumar Ketkar, to say now that the media is behaving like a trial court.
Sorry?
Kumar Ketkar, to say that the media is behaving like a trial court is, do you believe that that is fair? Do you believe that the media should step out of investigations and cases like this and actually leave the politicians in peace when things like this are being investigated?
No, I don't think media is acting like a court outside the general jurisprudence system. But I think media must highlight these cases. And the most important point in all this debate just now is that the TV statement, the so-called TV statement that he made prior to his suicide, was in front of the CBI evidence, was in front of the Supreme Court also. So Supreme Court must have considered that so-called dying declaration before the CBI as well as for Supreme Court. And even after that, CBI does not hold directly guilty. They saw it. They saw the tape, they must have studied the tape, they must have studied that evidence, and yet neither Supreme Court nor CBI hold George directly guilty. And therefore I think the question remains moral and not political and not judicial. And as I said, the family sentiment cannot necessarily be always brought into the judicial discussion, because Haren Pandya's father has been arguing for last almost 15 years that his son has been murdered right under Narendra Modi's watch when he was Chief Minister. Nothing has happened so far. And just as I mentioned, Gauri Lankar's family has been demanding.
I strongly object to what Mr. Ketkar is telling.
Family
I
concerns.
strongly.
Mr. Acharya, now you suddenly are taking offense.
Family concerns are justified, but family sentiment.
So, Mr. Ketkar, it is very convenient for you
family sentiment
to combine all
One second. Mr. Ketkar, Mr. Acharya of the BJP, who up until now was maintaining, Mr. Acharya of the BJP, who up until now was maintaining that the CID is gravely influenced by the state government, is suddenly taking offense to that same statement. Please tell us why, Mr. Acharya.
No, I
never said CID is influenced. I said the state government as well as the central government try to influence the
So let us not discuss Haren Pandya issue. We are here to discuss the suicide of Mr. Ganapathy.
No, Mr. Acharya, very nicely played, but I'm sorry that doesn't absolve you from the fact that the point that Kumar Ketkar is proving that there are several cases in several states.
I am questioning the role of the agencies. Role of the agencies. I am not discussing Haren Pandya issue or for that matter even Gauri Lankesh issue. I am just discussing how the intelligence agencies,
who's stopping the family members of Mr. Pandya?
How the intelligence
I have to wrap up this conversation, but Ramakant Gaur and Mr. Kodanda Ramaya and Mr. Vijay Kumar understand what is going on here, which is basically
family concerns and sentiments shouldn't come in the way of judiciary. That I totally agree. And then there is nothing wrong in
family concerns and sentiments shouldn't come in the way of the law.
George's point of view.
Family concerns and sentiments shouldn't come in the way of the judiciary. Those family concerns and sentiments that took this case to the Supreme Court.
Let the law take its own course.
Wow.
Now the CBI has taken over the case. We trust the CBI. And we presume it is going to be a decent investigation.
There is nothing wrong in hearing from Mr. KJ George's point of view in the court. Even he has to be heard.
Mr. KJ George cannot be argued by the state government counsel. He has to get his own counsel. He is the accused in this case.
For Mr. KJ George to present himself, present his point of view.
Before the CBI,
this is basically against the cardinal principle of jurisprudence.
The minister will have to bring his own advocate to defend himself.
Right. So I think this entire conversation leading up to what Mr. Kumar Ketkar said is that all politicians or all political parties believe that the other political party is influencing some agency or other, that there is some investigative agency, whether CBI, CID, state police or state surveillance, that is being investigated by a different political party. And if we consider all of these accusations, it seems like there is no state police, there's no police agency or investigating agency in the country that is not being investigated. And I think that's very unfortunate. But I will end, and this is just a list of reports from this year, from 2017. Let me read out just the headlines of these reports to you. RJD asks Nitish Kumar to step down over 1991 murder case. Half of UP's ministers have criminal records. 2 months ago, Uttar Pradesh government told the High Court that they will not prosecute Chief Minister Adityanath on charges of inciting and leading widespread anti-violence in Gorakhpur. Chief Minister Akhilesh Yadav's ministerial colleagues have criminal records, 28 out of 25 members. 22 out of 29 ministers in Bihar have criminal cases against them. The Delhi court frames charges against Arvind Kejriwal in a case of criminal defamation. CBI charges Vidarbh Singh, who is the Chief Minister of Himachal Pradesh, and his wife in an illegal assets case. It goes on and on. There are various politicians all over the country, across party lines, across state borders, who are in office right now, facing accusations in some very, very serious cases. But on one hand, we have the family of a police officer who was found hanging from the ceiling fan, who simply want a clean investigation. What a horrid state of affairs if we are now hearing the state government say that that family's emotion should in no way be a factor. It is that family's emotion and every family's emotion and their need and call for justice that needs to be defended at this point. It's justice that needs to be defended at this point against everyone who is powerful. Because if what we've heard on this show is true, then you and me, who have no political clout, and our families who have no access to these powerful people, will never get justice when the day comes. And there is nothing scarier than that. We have the Supreme Court to place our faith in. The Supreme Court has asked the CBI to investigate. But in the meantime, KJ George, morally, has refused to resign. Thanks for watching.